Anything I need to write down, I'll go back and listen because I'm pumping gas.
Okay.
I'm almost home though.
You're definitely going to need a pen and paper. Welcome to session 3. Ladies, how are you? This
Good,
is the
good.
Money Moves Academy Financial Freedom Lab. How you guys doing this beautiful bright Sunday?
Doing good. How
Doing
about
good.
you?
Yes, I am wonderful and in great spirits and just looking forward to all the gems that I'm going to share today. And we're going to get started. So let me get to our presentation and then we're going to go in. We're going to go in. Let me share. Let's see. Where is it? There it is. Boom. It's off. No distractions. Okay. And this is what we're sharing. Uh-oh, where are we? It's here. Share. Okay. Can you see this here?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yes, I can as well.
Okay. I don't know. I don't see it showing. Can you guys wait a minute? I don't see it showing in a large presenter's view. So let me try it again. Okay. Let me share it. And can you see the slides in a big view?
It's about the size it normally is. I
But
mean, to
That's,
me, it says
that's
Success Presents Money Moves Academy.
yeah, the
and it's the
previews.
it's the full screen. I'm trying to make sure you guys don't see like this white box over here on the side.
Yeah, we see the white box.
Yeah, okay, um let me fix that because I don't want it to do like that. Let's do escape. Okay. So let's do here. Okay. This is how I want it to appear. The
Here,
full screen. All right. Let's get it. So we are here in our Money Moves Academy Financial Freedom Lab. This is session 3. Let's go. Welcome, welcome. Today we are talking about building credit and building freedom. Because without building that credit, we really don't have the freedom that we want. We want to strengthen our personal credit score for lasting financial stability. Y'all with me today?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
nice.
Let's get it. And okay. So this is me, Dana Mack. I am a mindset coach, educator, consultant, and wellness practitioner. I'm also an author working on my second children's book. And I'm dedicated to your financial literacy and general wealth growth. I advocate for that in a real way. I want you guys to know that today, although I am here sharing this information, I am not a financial advisor. This information is for educational purpose only. Google is your friend, okay? So consult a professional if you feel the need to, but I just need to throw that out there because we will be putting this out there for others to um, see and view. And those could possibly be individuals who are not my close friends or relatives or friends that I've grown up with, but we want them to know. Do your due diligence, okay? Let's go. So, part of my health and wellness foundation is the 8 dimensions of wellness. And our wellness is just not about our, physical. We got the spiritual, we got the emotional, we got our occupational, intellectual, environmental, and social. But today we are focusing on the financial dimension, and that's about how we manage our money and our coins and what we do with it, how we protect it, how we buy assets, how we stay away from depreciating assets. And we want those that are going to give us what we need while we are sleeping. We want to grow and build and grow. And so this is the focus out of these 8 dimensions that are part of my foundation that I teach and consult on. We are on the financial piece, and this is session number 3. What is financial literacy? So it's our knowledge and skills that allow us to make informed and effective decisions, being able to budget. We got the budget tracker that we shared the last 2 times. Saving and investing and building wealth for both short and long-term goals, our debt management, and all debt is not bad, right? You want to be able to borrow, but you want to be able to borrow so that you can buy assets, not just debt because we're out there spending our money freely and carelessly and not having some put away in investments or using it to buy businesses and things that are going to bring us more money. Okay. Banking basics, how our checking accounts work. We all were in our meeting last week about getting our high yield savings account. Some of us pulled the trigger, some of us are still doing research, and that is okay as long as you know what it is that you are putting your money into, getting that information. But the goal is to execute to make sure that you do make that happen. Financial planning, we got to prepare for emergencies, our retirement, and big life events. And this is why we want to have our money working for us when we sleep, okay? And then we want to understand risk management and insurance and investments and being diversified. And I think that Felicia, you already signed up for your M1 account. Next
Yeah.
week, we'll be talking about investing. And I want to make sure that for next week, when I do my email, that I have everybody start their account so that they can, jump right in, because I'm going to go step by step and how to at least buy assets, especially with some of the things that have happened with the interest rates lowering and how we can take advantage of that. Okay. Financial Literacy for All, that's John Hope Bryant's book. It's very, very easy to read and easy to understand. And I follow him on social media. I will encourage you to do it too. This is a book that I just recently purchased, but I've listened on Spotify in my on my account, the audio version of it. And this gentleman is from right here in LA, Inglewood. He's worked for the Obama administration as well, with a lot of great ideas that we can do right away to help get that financial literacy. And as he states, it's for all. This is my money tree in the back that sits in my house that has nothing but financial books on it. And I'll be doing a video on that to add to my YouTube. But every book on there has a purpose and it's helping us to get to our goals. And I want to encourage you, as I give different books that we can read to help build on the information that you're receiving, that you do that, okay? Credit is power when you understand it. So in this session, we'll dive into the world of personal credit, what it is, why it matters, how it impacts your financial future, the roles it plays, how we can get to some better credit, how we want to build that credit, get the score that we're looking for, and take that into our business credit. So everything is going to be impending on how we make this part of our credit rock, because we can't get to the business credit unless we have this personal credit. Okay, y'all with me so far?
Yes.
Okay, let's get into it. We want to always be clear of where our mindset is. And even if we are at a point where we are still building or figuring out how to get our finances straight, it's the mindset that is going to allow more money to come. Even if you don't think that you're in a place where you can make more money, it starts with the mindset. opening that up to have a paradigm shift of how we think about money and how it can just flow to us. I suggested a book the other day called The Game of Life and How to Play It. If you listen to that book, it's going to help you start to think differently of just about what we think about and the situations that we put ourselves in and how we view even the most difficult and challenging situations can help us to be in alignment with allowing abundance to flow to us, okay? So does credit really matter? Heck yeah, it matters, okay? It impacts everything. It's the cost of money because depending on your credit, you're either going to pay more for something or you're going to pay less for it. It's access to opportunities, it's community stability and health and longevity, and that main goal, generational wealth and how we build that. And it's not just for us because, you know, one day we won't be here. 100 years from now, what do we want to leave as a legacy for the lineage that we are building for our family? What do we want to leave behind? Okay, so that starts with a generational wealth, but we got to do something today to start to think in that vein so that every little thing we do is focused on what are we leaving behind. Why good credit is key. So here is John Hope Bryant, and we're going to listen to some things that he has to say, his brief idea of what is necessary and why it's necessary and why it matters, okay?
These are all inaccurate. There's nothing he said that I wouldn't have said if I was having a family-oriented conversation. There's nothing that I said that he wouldn't say if he was having an economic-oriented conversation. And we didn't compare notes. It's just common sense.
And I think the intersection of what you're talking about is beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's why.
So I mentioned two things earlier that didn't involve the government that you could do on your own. One was credit score. If you haven't checked your credit, there's an error in your credit report. I guarantee you. If the law states well, we can get that off your credit report. By the way, that's 40-point pop in your credit score. If you have something in your credit score and you don't know what it is, the 3 credit bureaus, which are just credit repositories, the law states if this is civil rights. Thank you for doing this. The law states civil rights legislation. If you cannot confirm that that's mine, Mr. Credit Bureau, you must remove it within 30 days. That is the law. Thank you, Reverend Jackson. Now, 90% of the time, if you write them a letter, because we do it all the time, they can't confirm it's yours. 30-point pop in your credit score.
30.
Your credit score from 580 to mid-650s, most of the time without much drama within 3 to 6 months. We're just not checking it. We're afraid of it. We're like, well, if I don't check it, I guess it'll, won't get it. No, it's bad. It's just going to stay bad. So don't wait for it to attack you. Attack it. Because you can address that. You can solve that on your own. And you get your credit score to 680, your chest's going to be out, your shoulder's going to be up. People are making prime offers for capital to you. Because right now, versus a bank in 1930 that was racist, it was a family-owned bank, they didn't want to lend to black people. But now, I own Wells Fargo. I own all these stocks. We all own it. They want to make profits because if they don't, you're not Netflix, you're Blockbuster.
Oh. That's good.
Nobody wants to be JCPenney. Nobody wants to be Sears. Nobody wants to be Blockbusters. These capitalists want to figure out how to keep this party going. This is ironic, but the first time in history, you cannot have a successful country unless black people are successful too.
Come on now. So that is key. We are the consumers that are making this country move. And we have to learn how to redirect our funds so that we are building wealth, not just for the people that we are purchasing from, but for ourselves. Okay? Can I get an amen? So,
yes, ma'am.
Amen.
Yes, absolutely. So the FCRA, your rights under the law. And this is not assuming that, ladies, you are in here with me, that you don't already have good credit. But I still want to give the information so that we are clear if, in fact, we have other family members or we want to have a boost in our already good credit, then we know what to do and how to get there. And sometimes our credit can take a dip, and we need to know what can we do to get back on track. Well, the Fair Credit Reporting Act 1970 helps us to be able to do that. It's created to protect consumers like us from unfair credit reporting practices. And I don't know about you, but I've seen things on my credit report that, like, number one, I didn't do that. And number two, that's not what should be reported because that's already been taken care of. And why is it still there, right? So when there's inaccuracies, we need to know what we can do. So the FCRA ensures accuracy, fairness, and privacy in our credit reports. And it's overseen by the FTC and the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And it holds those three bureaus accountable, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, because if not, they'll just run rampant, and that's not what we need. We want to know that we have some respite when it comes to us disputing things that are inaccurate, okay? So don't sleep on the FCRA. So here are some of the most common violations. And the reason why this is important, because you're going to be empowered to be able to do these things on your own. We don't have to go pay anybody to help us with our credit, okay? We can do it on our own.
The 5 most common Fair Credit Reporting Act violations. Hi, this is Consumer Protection Attorney Bill Clanton with another video about the Fair Credit Reporting Act. I've helped hundreds of consumers deal with debt collection harassment, bad background checks, inaccurate credit reports, and all kinds of other stuff. In this video, I'm talking about the 5 most common Fair Credit Reporting Act violations. These violations happen, they show up on your credit report, but they are the result of furnishers, creditors, and credit reporting agencies making mistakes that cause you problems in your credit report. Okay, so here they are. Number 1 is reporting inaccurate information. This is often old information or the result of a mixed file. This looks like a misstated balance, reporting payments incorrectly, listing you as the debtor if you're just an authorized user.
That happened to me.
Listing accounts subject to identity that are the result of identity theft, and reporting old accounts as active. Okay, number 2, failing to follow dispute procedures. Now, the Fair Credit Reporting Act has a set of procedures that the credit reporting agencies are required to follow and the furnishers of information are required to follow. Two separate portions of the statute give the duties of the credit reporting agencies and the furnishers. Okay, if they fail to follow these, they violate the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So a failure of the credit bureaus to forward your dispute to the furnishers is a violation. Failure of a credit bureau to conduct its own investigation is a violation. Failure of a furnisher after receiving your dispute from the credit bureau to conduct an investigation is a violation. If they conduct an investigation, it has to be a thorough investigation. It has to be a reasonable investigation. Failing to mark an account as disputed after you send in your dispute. Failing to correct inaccurate information, failing to remove disputed inaccurate debts, failing to handle the disputes within 30 days. The furnishers have 30 days to turn a dispute around to the credit bureaus. Okay, number 3 is privacy violations and unauthorized access.
Yes.
So anytime anybody has unauthorized access or makes unauthorized access onto your credit report, it's a violation of your privacy. It's an invasion of your privacy. They are, the bureaus are releasing your private information.
Excuse me.
Public. It's a form of invasion of privacy. Okay, when they don't have a valid reason for disclosing your credit report, that's a violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. An impermissible pull is another type of violation, and this happens a lot with companies that are offering debt settlement services. They will not have a permissible purpose for accessing your credit report. They'll go through some shell companies, and then they will access your credit report. And this is impermissible access to your credit report and is a violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Number 4 is status mistakes. The status of a trade line or an account on your credit report, the status is messed up. Let's say an account is considered included in bankruptcy, but you've never filed bankruptcy. This is more common than you'd believe. Or if you have filed bankruptcy and an account is not marked as in bankruptcy, post-bankruptcy credit reporting is often erroneous. If you filed bankruptcy, it's important to keep a close eye on your credit report. Okay, and the 5th most common is failing to give you the required notices when you get your credit report. There are notice of your right to dispute, the right to a free report, the notice, adverse action notice. If you apply for credit and you're turned down, you are entitled to an adverse action report that tells you where that creditor got the information that they used to turn you down for credit or take an adverse action. All right, guys, that's the most common Fair Credit Reporting Act violations. If you have, if you've experienced one of these, give us a call. We want to help you out.
So everything that he said, if you're paying attention to your credit report, these are immediate ways that if you write your letter using the FCRA verbiage and footage, you can see bumps in your credit report almost immediately after you have disputed what is on that report. Old addresses that you don't even live there anymore. It's where you grew up. You haven't been there since in your 20s. Remove those from your report. You will see an immediate boost in your score. Anything that is inaccurate, you need to be contested. Unless it is connected to an open account, and if you know it's old and should not be there, you need to be using ChatGPT to help you use the FCRA laws to put into your letter so that you can write to them, all 3, to have those items removed from your credit. And that's just right there off the bat. That's not even going into any of the trade lines that you have that might be inaccurate, okay? So please take these notes and make sure that that is something that you can do right away, because that can help you have a boost in your credit, especially if you're trying to get to, and I'm not going to assume, you might already have an 800 credit score. You might already be there. Maybe you want to go higher. But if in fact that is not the case for you and you want to see some increase in your credit, then these are the things that you want to pay attention to, okay? So let's talk about trade lines 101. What are trade lines on your credit? Every credit account equals a trade line. There are 2 types: revolving credit cards, your MasterCard, your Visa, your American Express, or installment loans. It could be your mortgage, it could be your car loan, it could be just a personal loan that you took out. So what it shows is your payment history, balances, and the account age. Positive trade lines, of course, are going to up your score. Negative trade lines are going to lower your score. I remember I became an authorized user on one of my gentleman friends, his card, and when he was not paying and had some issues, they started putting that onto my account. That is not how it's supposed to happen. If you're an authorized user, that is for the person who opened the line of credit, not for you. Although trade lines are what you want to get to boost your credit from someone who is following, the good credit process and paying their bills on time. But when it's a negative report, that shouldn't go onto your credit, okay? So the question is, what story is your credit report telling about you? So is your credit saying something good about you, or is it saying there are some things that we need to work on, okay? So did you know that you can buy good credit? And similar to what I was just saying, you can become an authorized user on someone's credit card who already has long history, good payment history, and already that they have good credit. So that's an authorized user, and that's a trade line, okay? So let's get some information on that. And I do recommend outside agencies that do this, as well as people that you might know. They use these trade lines to even make money for themselves, okay? So let's get into it.
Credit repair secrets nobody wants you to know about in 2025. I am exposing them all. This is part 23 of the 25-part series where I'm going to give you some game on authorized user trade lines. And a lot of people ask, do they still work? Absolutely, they still work. But there are a number of things that we have to be aware of when it comes to authorized users, because the most easiest and fastest way for us to piggyback off other people's good credit and boost our credit as fast as possible is to have other folks that have a perfect payment history and a fairly low credit utilization add us to their credit cards as an authorized user. And we can even do this for our children. And I've even had family members who have done this for some of my clients. But one thing that we need to pay attention to is what happens when those authorized user trade lines go south, or maybe the usage has gotten a little out of control. I recently had a client who had a really great high limit Chase trade line added to their credit report, and it's still reporting to this day. However, that now is almost at a 50% credit utilization. So what happens when you have these trade lines added and then they keep on reporting because it's someone that you know or someone that did a favor for you, and now all of a sudden the utilization is a problem? Well, that's great. We have to really kind of take this bull by the horns, because we do not want to inherit anybody else's debt onto our credit. So in this case, what we would want to do is dispute the account to get it off of our credit, or contact the account holder and ask them to kindly remove us from the credit report. Now, the great thing about buying trade lines from, say, like a professional company is we have total control over that, and we guarantee that all of our trade lines are going to be less than a 15% credit utilization, and we guarantee that all of our cards are going to have 100% payment history. If not, we will remove it and we will replace it with the next best option. Now, the only time that I've ever had this issue was when someone took their credit utilization to like 17%. And, even though it's pretty close to 15, the customer wasn't happy about it. So we removed that account. In return, it actually took the whole account off of that person's credit. And then we replaced it with a similar trade line. But here's the takeaway from this part. Make sure that you're monitoring your authorized user accounts that are still reporting on your credit, because you don't want to inherit other people's debt. And this is one of the biggest reasons why you would need to remove an authorized user, is if the credit utilization got a little bit too high and the card holder doesn't have any plans to reduce it anytime soon. Now, I always am a huge advocate of trade lines. So if you are looking to add trade lines to your credit profile, book a call. I've got a ton of trade lines. And like I said, most of our trade lines are going to report for 3 months as active. So it gives you a lot of opportunity to do what it is that you need to do. And you can also extend those for a discounted price. We guarantee our trade lines to post, and we guarantee them to post to a minimum of 2 out of the 3 bureaus. But honestly, most of our trade lines report to all 3 credit bureaus. In fact, if it doesn't report, it's either a problem with your credit report, you have a fraud alert, or you have some sort of block, or you have your reports locked. And that's another thing that you have to consider. When you buy trade lines, you cannot have identity theft notifications, you cannot have a fraud alert, and you cannot have your credit reports locked. They have to be unlocked, and you cannot have any consumer statement statements, because that could prevent a trade line from posting. It doesn't matter if you buy it or if someone gives it to you. You have to take those things into consideration if you want the trade lines to post properly. So that's a big thing that people don't always pay attention to, but we're actually not able to add a trade line to someone's credit profile until those consumer statements are removed, the fraud alerts are removed, and the credit reports are unlocked. I've left a link below if you want to check out our trade line inventory. Again, guys, my name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. Make sure you watch all 25 videos in this playlist, because guess what? I give you guys some major game. Most importantly, take action. I'll see you next time.
So we just talked about 2 ways currently that you can boost your score. Number 1, just by going into your report and looking for inaccuracies. It could be your name is spelled wrong. It could be old addresses. It could be something on there that is not even your account. Those simple things right there, by removing those, will boost your credit. Boost your credit. Authorized users. You can use family or friends who have good credit history. They put you on their card as an authorized user. You're going to inherit all of that good history. Or you can pay, there are companies that are trade line companies that you pay them, and the same thing. They have different accounts that you can become a part of with high limits, with long history, that once you are on, can help you boost your credit, okay? So if you have if your credit report is full of negative trade lines, those are going to be problematic for you. So in your disputing and figuring out what you need to do, maybe it's something that you need to pay. And I'm not encouraging not to pay things that are on your credit that need to come off. But if there's something on there that you know you can get moved off of there with immediacy, you need to do that. And if you have negative trade lines, you want to put some positive trade lines on there. And you can do that by getting secured credit cards, where you put down a deposit, the bank gives you a card with that limit, and every on-time payment gets reported and helps your score. You can do a credit builder loan, again, the authorized user, or you can have utilities, or even some rent can be reported to your credit report to help boost that score. The key is consistency, and every on-time payment is going to help you. You don't need to have 20 accounts. You just need a few solid, positive trade lines that are being managed well, that can help you boost that score, okay? So we can definitely buy good credit. Let's go to our next slide. So we get to dispute those inaccuracies. We talked about that. Dispute, dispute, dispute. So in our last session, where we just recapped what we did from session 1, I gave you the annual credit report link for you to get your credit report. And because there's been so many breaches with all of our information, they used to do it after the pandemic. It was, you can do it once a year. Now, guess what? You can get that report once a week. That's how serious things have become. And you want to make sure that, again, you go in there fixing the errors. Like if you don't take anything else away from class today, is go in there and find any inaccuracy, the name that they have for you, the amount that they're reporting, even if it's an accurate account, if the amount they have is wrong, the dates are wrong, you get to dispute that. Dispute any and everything that you see that is inaccurate. And you have that right. And again, start by getting your free credit report, going over it with a fine-tooth comb. This is how we're going to get to the other things that we want to do, because it's all going to be depending on what our credit is doing, okay? And when you write those letters, make sure that you are doing it where you're going to the post office and you are making sure that you do it with where they have to sign for it, and that you get a record of you sending that. so that they can't say, though, it was lost. You have 30 days, 30 days. And if the investigation and nothing happens within that 30 days, they have to pull it off. It is the law, okay? Keep copies of everything. Don't let them get away with not, taking care of you the way that they need to based upon this law. And that's why we put that verbiage into the letters. And again, ChatGPT is your best friend, okay? All you got to do is tell it to do it, and it will take care of it for you. Another way that I'm going to talk about for boosting your credit is when you are paying your credit card, you don't want to pay on the due date. You want to pay during the statement date. So when you look at your credit card statement, there's going to be 2 dates. The time frame within they're going to be looking at any transactions you have, and then they're going to have a statement date. That date is the day that they're going to report to the credit bureau. That's going to be before your due date. You want to pay within that window of the statement date, either about 3 to 5 days. So if your statement date says on the 22nd, right? Between the 20th and the 27th, you don't want to do anything other than pay it down so that the utilization doesn't show. And then you don't want to charge until that next cycle begins, so that whatever you charge doesn't get caught up in what you're trying to already show, that you have a low utilization, okay? And I have a video on that that's going to help you. And I will put that in our email, our recap email, so that you have that. That way you'll know that is another way to boost your credit. Just paying by that statement date so that you show the utilization is low. Like you can run it all the way up, but by the time that statement date comes, you want to pay it all off, or make sure that you are below at least 10% utilization, okay? 7 is a good number. So if you're doing that, that's also going to help you to boost your score. So when you're looking at how to remove things off our credit report, I don't even know why this is not even showing up. But again, it's basically the things that we talked about before. You want to go over the credit report, dispute what's on there. The things that you can do right on the credit report website is, I would only tell you to do the addresses there and any inaccuracies like your name or addresses. You can do those directly on there. But things that have to do with trade lines and things that you know that require more of that FCR, the verbiage on there, you send those letters and make sure that, again, you have a receipt that you sent that to them. Okay, so something big just happened on the 17th of September. The Fed lowered interest rate. So what is the Fed? So that's the Federal Reserve System. It's the central bank of the United States, and they have a committee, the FOMC, or the Federal Open Market Committee, and they monitor how well the economy is doing. And when they see that there are dips in our spending or employment, their job is to go in and change interest rates, okay? So in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act is when the Federal Reserve took the responsibility for setting what we call the monetary policy. And they have a job that entails 3 different things, okay? And one of those things is for them to make sure that the economy stays bustling, right? And they want to promote like employment and stable prices and interest rates so that the economy continues to boom, even when it's tanking, okay? So that is their job to do that. And it also is to protect us as consumers, okay? So what does that mean for us? And why did they cut rates? So when we're learning about our finances, we sometimes, these are things like, oh, this is not the sexy part. I don't really want to know about this. But it's important for us to know, because the more we know, the more we'll be able to make these moves that are going to benefit us, okay? Not knowing is not something that we want to hang our hat on. Even if it's just a little bit of information just enough so you can be dangerous, you need to have this information, okay? So why do they cut the rates? What do they do?
Speculation about whether the Fed will cut interest rates can generate a lot of headlines, but it's not always clear how a rate cut might affect investors. So let's discuss how lowered interest rates can stimulate the economy and impact financial markets. Also, let's take a look at which types of investments have historically performed the best in low interest rate environments. The goal of the Federal Reserve, or the Fed, is to keep the U.S. economy healthy in two ways: maximizing employment and stabilizing inflation. One of the ways the Fed does this is by decreasing or increasing interest rates. Historically, as the economy has shown signs of weakness, the Fed has responded by cutting interest rates. Here's how it works. A committee within the Fed, called the Federal Open Market Committee, meets 8 times a year to look at the health of the economy. If there are signs of a weak economy, like rising unemployment and stagnating job growth, the Fed may decide to lower interest rates, specifically the federal funds rate. Generally, when the federal funds rate gets lower, banks lower their interest rates on loans. These lower loan rates can help stimulate economic growth in a couple of ways. First, they can make it cheaper for people and businesses to borrow money for big purchases or new ventures. Secondly, banks also typically lower rates on CDs and savings accounts, which makes it less profitable to keep money in bank accounts. Instead of saving, individuals and businesses may want to invest or spend that money. The goal is to kickstart a virtuous cycle of spending and growth that creates jobs and steers inflation to more healthy levels. While it'll likely be some time after the Fed cuts rates before the economy starts to respond, you may see changes in the stock and bond markets immediately. Historically, the S&P 500 index has generally performed well following interest rate cuts. In fact, the 12 months after the first cut have been positive for the index to varying degrees, 86% of the time since 1929. This may be partially due to the economic recovery, but could also be due to stocks becoming more appealing to investors as returns on other assets fall due to lower interest rates. In particular, stocks that are known for their steady dividends, like real estate, utilities, and telecom, may lure investors away from lower yielding fixed income investments. Interest rate cuts can also have a major impact on the bond market. This is because if interest rates are going to be lower, older bonds with higher interest rates become more valuable. For investors who already own bonds, interest rate cuts can potentially allow them to sell their bonds for a higher price on the secondary market. Here you can see the overall performance of international and U.S. stocks, commodities, REITs, bonds, and gold from 1976 through 2023. During low interest rate environments, REITs and U.S. stocks have historically outperformed other asset classes. While stock markets often initially welcome rate cuts, if the cuts are accompanied by prolonged economic weakness, the cuts can lose some of their market-moving muscle. In short, low rates don't guarantee a bull market for stocks. If economic weakness continues or tips into recession, the stock market could suffer. Defensive stock sectors like consumer staples may be better poised to weather economic slowdowns. People will always need food. But remember, the point of cutting interest rates is to nudge the economy in the opposite direction. Though cuts may be the result of a negative economic outlook, forward-thinking investors may want to anticipate how interest rate cuts may help spur long-term economic growth.
Okay, so he said 2 very important things that matter for what we're doing. He said since 1929, when this has happened, stocks have generally gone up. He also spoke about REITs. So if you remember in our first class, I showed you a video on Ashley Fox, and we talked about REITs. And that is a way to get into real estate through stocks with just a little bit of money. So next week, when we're talking about stocks and opening up a brokerage account and an M1 account, one of my pies in there, and I know I already shared this pie with Felicia, has the REITs in it. So we know that the interest rates have gone down. Now, we talked about in our first class the opening up high yield savings account. Those percentages are going to go down. How much? I don't know. You have to look at if you've already started yours. And if you haven't, you'll get the new amount of the APY based upon what has just happened. So we'll see changes in the housing market. We'll see changes in the stocks. We'll see changes in the kickback that we get from our high yield savings account. So next week, when we open those M1 account, as you see what he said, over this next 12 months, you would want to have REITs. You would want to have that pie with all the different dividend stocks in there, even if you're putting in low as $100, $20, $25, but having the drip turned on where the money is reinvesting itself, because this is the cut that was just made, okay? This 0.25%, because their goal is to get it in this target range. And again, reducing borrowing costs. So it's going to be cheaper for you to get a loan. It's going to be cheaper on the interest rates for credit cards, but that doesn't mean that we're going to go out and buy a bunch of stuff, but we're going to use it to our advantage, okay? Because the goal for the Fed is economic activity and job growth, okay? So when we look at our FICO score, there are different scores. There is a VantageScore, there's a FICO 8, and newly a FICO 9. But your FICO credit scoring factors has payment history, which is 35%. That's the biggest number. So this is whether or not you're making the payments on time. And then 38% is what is owed, the total amount of debt you owe on credit cards and loans. And the length of credit history, 15%, how long you've had the credit, and new credit includes recent credit inquiries, new accounts, and how long since you've opened a new account, okay? And then there's the mix of credit. Do you have loans? Do you have credit cards? Do you have a mortgage? So these are the numbers that FICO goes by: 35, 30, 15, 10, and 10%. So over here where you see the Vantage score, there's a little different, because this big chunk of 40% is payment history, where you see it different here. These are two different scores. Different companies, different businesses, when they're looking at your credit, use different different ones of these. It could be the Vantage or it could be the FICO, but the one that we all know is the FICO 8, okay? The Vantage was made by the 3 credit bureaus, and they have the similar range like FICO from 300 to 850, and free credit apps like Credit Karma usually have, this there. This is where they get their information from about you. It's good for you to see it from this angle as well as the other angle as well. The FICO Score 8 is most common for lenders. That's what they're checking, like banks and credit card companies. And again, that ranges from 300 to 850. And it weighs credit card usage more heavily. And if you max out your cards, and this can drop your score. The FICO Score 9 is a newer version, but not all vendors are using it yet. And it can have like medical debt, and that usually counts less. And medical bills, they don't hurt as much. And it's your rental history and utility payments. And they can also help your score, okay? If you have good history with that, or making it a point to pay on time. So I got receipts. So I don't talk about nothing that I ain't done and nothing I ain't doing, okay? So this is July 28th of 2020. This is my credit score here. It's an 831. In the middle, this is something recent, where you can see this date here is 6/19/2015. My score is at an 850. Over here, this was July this year, July 14th, right? So you can see it went from here, and this is the FICO Score 9, right? This is the FICO Score 9, so this is the newer version. And I believe over here to the right, this was probably the FICO Score 8, I believe. And so just within, say, June to July, here's two different ones, but they're very close. But I've been building for a long time to get to this number, all right? So I want to make sure that when I'm sharing information with you, I'm not giving you information and things that I have not done. I'm not going to share with you anything that I have not done. And if I do, I'm going to tell you that so that we are doing it together, okay? So again, when we're looking at the FICO and the VantageScore, this is just a visual depiction of those differences and how it looks in comparison with each other. So again, your credit score is made up of the four main pieces. Knowing how they're weighted is going to help you. Your payment history, credit utilization, all of those things are going to be considered for that score, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And again, another visual, depending on how you learn. And that's important because we want to make sure that you get it so that you know what you are working with and how to maneuver when it comes to your credit, okay? So here's a quote from our guy, John Hope Bryant. We saw him earlier on the video. Nothing changes your life more other than God and love than moving your credit score 120 points, all right? Let me hear you sound off if you're into moving that credit score 120 points up.
Absolutely.
Up. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Sure, for sure.
For sure, for sure. Okay. So again, when we look at our self-care, doing these things can bring about stress. You know, it's like, what number? Where am I at? I got this bill. I'm trying to do this or whatever. I want to always bring it back to centering ourselves and being able to hang our hat on something that puts us at the forefront. We can't do any of these things if we're not taking care of our self-care. And as I bring you back to the many aspects of your well-being, it's not just a few things. Your physical, whether you are exercising, walking, you know, taking care of your health in that way, breaking down some weights, joining me for yoga, your social, developing a sense of connection and belonging and a support system, which again, I'll reiterate, when we are in these spaces, it is incumbent on me to make sure that is a safe space. And it's also part of your responsibility to allow it to be a safe space as well. We're not all at the same place. I don't show you that 800 credit score just to brag and boast, but it is something that I stand on business about, you know? I wear the t-shirt for a reason, but it took me some time to get there. It was a lot of hard work. I had years where, you know, I tanked and, you know, had a 500 and didn't know what to do. I'll be honest with you. Where I got my information and how I learned these things is because I used YouTube University and I used Instagram and I followed people who were doing the things that I wanted to do. I joined Facebook groups and I made it a point to ask questions. I paid people to give me information that I knew what they were doing. And that's how I was able to get to where I am. So again, your intellectual, emotional, environmental, your occupational, your spiritual, your social, and your physical are all going to have an effect on that financial. They all touch and they are inextricably connected to each other. So it's very important that you have time to sit in silence and reflect. Have your journal, take notes, make a plan. Think about what it is that you want to do and whatever steps that entails for you, this is your journey. It doesn't have to mimic or look like anyone else's, but the information is here to help you stay on track and to be able to have a set of resources that you can look at and get information and view so that you know, I know where I'm going. What is my action plan? Do I have a strategy in place to help me get there? Okay. So here's our call to action. And remember, when money talks, nobody is checking the grammar. Okay? So we got to get in place where we're making major moves and doing things that are going to allow us to let that money talk. Okay? Clocking that T for sure. So order your annual credit report now weekly if you have not done that. We got to take the steps that we got to take, even if they're baby steps and incremental. Okay? Any movement in the right direction is going to move the needle. And that's important. You can't be hard on yourself. You just got to know that you got to take the steps. And the journey of 1,000 miles started with what? Just one step. Place a freeze on your credit. We didn't talk about that, but I'm going to talk about it now. Go to all 3 bureaus. Put a freeze on your credit report for several reasons. One of which, all these data breaches, and even though these breaches are us being in these companies and already given our information, and then they had us in some database and it was breached that way, you want to make sure that you don't have fraud that's happening immediately because you're out there, because you have some type of firewall, if you will, keeping people from getting in. And they've made it so easy now that if you are wanting to get new credit, you just go into your phone, pull it up. There's a little button that you slide, at least with the TransUnion, it has like this icicle that you can slide over to open it up. And then you can put a date when you want to close it back. I do immediately, right? So no one can get in without your say so. That's important for the things that we are moving forward in doing. Check your credit score using a free place like Credit Karma. They're free, and they're going to give you, I believe, the VantageScore, and we already saw that earlier. Check it regularly. They're giving you this report now weekly. Remember before it was so hard to just get the report? Now they're giving it to you, and you can get it electronically and get it right away. Become an authorized user on a primary cardholder's account with better credit than yours, okay? That is the key. And remember, there are trade line companies that you can buy into. I've even done it with those who have been in my credit classes that pay me to go on my accounts. I have accounts that are 20 years old, 25 years old, and I already showed you my score because I wanted you to see I have the receipts that I really have done this and built it to that number, okay? Sometimes it'll dip, but depends on what you do after that dip to get it back up. And I'm not talking a dip because sometimes your credit will fluctuate even though you're doing all of the things. Sometimes it has to catch up to that good behavior that you're doing to reflect it. Because I remember at one point I was at an 817, but I knew that I was doing the things with my statement date, paying cards off on time. And then after the 30-day period where it was catching up, I shot up to that 850, and you were able to see that. And we know that that's the highest number for the FICO 8 and the FICO 9 and even the VantageScore, okay? Pay your bills on time before the due date and focus on that statement date. I'm going to send you a video for that. My goal is to create an Instagram group because I have a lot of additional information in a saved collection just for personal credit that I would like to share with you. But in order for that to happen, I'm not going to do a bunch of texting of that. I'd rather put you in a group and share those videos in there because the more you know, the more you grow, okay? And then have a mix of credit to build up your credit profile. Don't get too many hard inquiries over, a year's time because it takes 2 years for them to fall off. And be sure you're going in and disputing. They got a letter wrong in your name. They got 2 N's. They had 2 N's in one of, they had my name DANNA for something. I don't know. I'm disputing it. You got to come off. And just those simple things aren't even the big things with the writing the letters that you're going to see a definite change in your score. It's going to go up. Okay. And at this point in time, do I have any questions from anybody? And anything that you want to say right now that I may have already stated and you want a little bit more clarity on, come off of mute and let me know what you got. or any comments you want to make. Wait, I heard somebody. What'd you say? Oh, someone had put something in the chat. Okay. So let me see what's in the chat. Let's go. Okay, this is some great intel. Thank you, BK. Is the recording going to be sent to us? I missed the whole class. I will be emailing it and putting it on the YouTube. Yep. Thank you, sister, for joining. This was some great intel. Yes, everything will be available to you. And I will make sure, even the week before that, I didn't have that one in there as well. Okay. So.
And then the first class, I don't think I was even a part of it yet, the group. So that'll be there too as well.
Yeah, the first class I sent in an email. I sent in an email and then I will resend them so that you guys have that.
Okay.
One thing that I'm gonna I'll finish off with. There is a play that I can teach you to do that requires you to have your credit already set up on these accounts to freeze it. So I won't move forward with it because I don't know who has it, but I'll do a special class of this play. If you want to get the Apple Card, let me hear your voice. Put something in the chat. Let me go to the chat if you would like to have the Apple Card.
Yes.
I was.
Everything.
Somebody say,
Yes.
yes, ma'am.
Absolutely, honey.
I will teach
I'm actually with a client. I'm sorry, Mac. So I'm just listening, but
Yes.
good job.
No worries. Yes. So I will teach you a play where you can go and get that Apple Card for and you won't get a hard inquiry. But the two caveats to that is that you have to already have your freezes set up on all three bureaus, right? I think it's only a TransUnion pool, but you need to make sure that your credit is already at a 650 if you want to do this play. So you won't get a hard inquiry, but you will get yourself an Apple Card, okay? So if you are wanting to do that, do the things that I just put on here first. Make sure you are at a 650. And if not, do those first things that I told you with checking the report for your name being inaccurate, any addresses that you do not live there, remove them, and you're going to see an increase, and that could get you there. And again, I'm not assuming that you're not because I'm not asking you to tell me your credit score, but I'm just giving you what the caveat is in order for us to make that happen. All right. So if you want to do that, play. And then I'm going to also send the videos for how you pay by the statement date so that everything is paid off and that you can see a boost because when they go to report, it's showing that you had something, now it's gone. And that's going to help boost your credit, okay? And so with that said, these are our new books that I am promoting from the Money Tree in the prosperity corner in my house. So we're going to read our way to wealth. The things that I'm saying here, I want you to continue to get information. These are the top books that if we're looking at any wealth builders, any millionaires, anybody who has done something that we can follow, more often than not, these are the books that they're reading. I gave books last time in the email. Think and Grow Rich. If you can go get this one immediately, I want you to do that. I bought on Amazon a black bound version, although I already have this one that you're looking at. I have this version. And I just recently brought an updated, and it's black brown, like a leather bound looking. And so I wanted it to be on the Money Tree that I told you guys that I have. Rich as fuck, Vivian too. Follow her on Instagram. She's funny. She's a girl that was on Wall Street, and she helps you with simple things you can do. She talks directly with the colloquial language that we use and makes it easier for us to digest. Follow her. You won't be
follow her.
that, okay? And someone said they already follow her?
Yes.
Snaps for that. And The Psychology of Money, another one of the top finance books or books about money that you need to get. And I talked last time about how do you get these books for free? Go to your local library, get a library card, put it on the Libby app, put the Libby app on your phone, whether that's Android or an iOS system, and then you go and check the book out on the app so that you can check all three of them out at the same time. One is not going to be available, and if they all three are, listen to them on audio. Your car needs to be your university. We are going into places and spaces where it felt uncomfortable. We're going to be using this vocabulary. We're going to be understanding all of these things so that we know what we are doing. It is okay for us to now step out and be a part of this financial world in a way that we have never done before. That is the charge, okay? You can also use your Spotify. If you go to Spotify and go to audiobooks, these will be in there. But I think it might only be if you're doing the paid version. I'm not sure, but if you have it, check it. I'm not encouraging you to do Audible to pay for the books, but sometimes if you do a free trial, they give you 3 credits for 3 free books. Pick the books that you want that are talking about how you can make this money move, okay? And with that said, I will end this with, let's stay connected. That's me, Seeing Real Success. That's my IG for Seeing Real Success, even though some of you follow me already in the I Am Dana Macc page. That's my email address. That's my website. Let's stay connected. Let's get this credit and get that cash. And my final slide is an ask. If this was pertinent to you and you want to contribute to keep the Academy growing, I got my Venmo, I got my Zelle, and I got my Cash App. Anything that you give is appreciated. I appreciate you for showing up for yourselves. If you have questions for me, you can text me, email me, and we're going to keep this Academy going and growing. Thank you, and I will bid you adieu. Have a beautiful rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much. Have a bright and beautiful, blessed rest of the day. All right, y'all. Come off of me. Hear you.
Thank you. You too.
Let me hear you.
Have a good day.
Thanks so much.
Later.
Later. Thank you so much.
All right, Mac, later.
All right, peace.
All right, Dana Mac.
Thanks a million.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. This was beautiful. This was beautiful. Money Moves Academy, let's get it. Continuing to stand on business. Let's go.